Let's get into it. Soul Not For Sale podcast. We got Joe Rogan talking about desensitization. I don't know about you, but with social media and all the things that you can see, violent movies, video games, just everything that's just bombarded on us, imagery, we are becoming desensitized, and it's happening in young people. And what Rogan's going to be touching on is two young people who decided to do a prank, but this prank is way different than the ones that you've probably seen online. They decided to steal cars. They decided to do hit and runs on other cars, and two of the hit and runs that they decided to do were on cyclists. And one cyclist was a 64-year-old man who was retired from the police force, and that gentleman ended up passing away. The kids were laughing, just completely desensitized. So Rogan's going to be touching on that situation and just the overall desensitization that's happening to us. And then after that clip, I'm going to be playing a news clip talking about the kids and the charges that are going to be laid upon them. I'm really hoping that it's life in prison. I know they're young, but the way they went about this and the fact that they thought they were just going to get slaps on the wrist is just absolutely ridiculous. Let's get into the Rogan clip.
Film yourself doing it.
Well, how about those kids that filmed themselves riding over that former police chief in Vegas?
I haven't seen this, but I did see a couple people die doing a TikTok challenge, doing a backflip off of a boat. Something like over 400 people have died so far taking selfies.
Oh, at least.
At least that we
How
know
many people
of.
have fallen off mountains?
Just backing
that shit
up,
always
up.
happens.
Yep. So what happens? Is it because you're so focused on getting the photo? I mean, there's a video of, I think it's in India, a guy taking a video of himself next to a wild bear as the bear eats him.
Oh, God.
And he's not, everyone else is filming it, but like he's just keeps filming as he gets eaten.
Yeah, people are, if nothing's happened to you, you don't think it's going to happen to you. And you have this.
Shuts off your frontal lobe.
Yeah.
That means it's truly a drug. Yeah.
Is this the guy? Is taking a selfie?
Oh God, I think it starts with him taking a video and just.
Oh God. And that bear's just like, well, you're meat.
Yeah.
You're made out of meat. I'm fucking hungry.
Oh God. I don't think he survives this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Oh God, that fucked up my algorithm for a while. But wait, what is the one that the person died?
What?
Thing that the two
Oh
kids-
yeah, these two kids were driving in a car and he was on a bike and they fucking plow into him and they're laughing about it. And they filmed it and live streamed it. They hit one car, hit and run, and they hit this guy and killed him. And it was initially reported, a lot of people tried to say that they're trying to downplay crime because it was initially reported that he just died from a hit and run. And they were like, they don't even want to say why he really died. No, they didn't know why he really. It took like 2 weeks before they figured out these kids killed him.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they just, and no remorse. They're laughing in court. They're giving people the finger in court.
Is this like psychopathy?
Yeah, it's psychopathy, but it's also street cred. They're trying to pretend they're hard. You know, they're.
And then you go, has this always happened? We just didn't see videos of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like we've always done savage shit.
Well, for sure, there's always been gangbangers and gangbang initiations, and people have always done fucked up things. It's just always been a part of human culture, but it's just seeing young kids run over an old guy on a bicycle is particularly fucking disturbing.
I wonder, though, do you think that having all these videos available desensitizes?
100%.
Wow.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think there's a bunch of factors that desensitize people. I think movies, violent movies, and this is not a judgment. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't have violent movies or we shouldn't have violent video games. But if you don't think it's affecting people, of course it is. You're so accustomed to seeing violence.
Yep.
And wild, horrific violence.
I really try to not watch like too much news or read too much news because it spooks me how I can just scroll past a school shooting, which is like, yep. And I'm like,
right.
I remember when Newtown happened, I was at a job where we sent everyone home. Like we sent everyone home when that happened. You know, it was like I cried.
Now everybody would be like, oh no,
yeah, I'm
another
worried.
one.
I'm worried about my brain that I could just scroll right past that. Like
We should be. It's free. It's a factor. You know, there's something going on. There's something going on with us with this prolonged exposure to horrific things. Segura and I have this text message chain where every day we send each other the worst things that we find.
I cannot even imagine.
It's almost like we're waiting for someone to cry uncle. We do it every day. Every day we send each other and I always tell when he's taking a shit because I'll get something like 2 o'clock in the morning. some horrible car accident, some horrible animal attack, some
Remember
horrible.
when there used to be one video every couple months that would be remember 2 Girls, 1 Cup?
Yeah.
That was
and that was fake. That was like ice cream.
It was like ice cream or something.
Whipped cream or something.
I remember when that happened. It was everybody had seen it. Now that's just kind of.
Now it's nothing.
When you realize how extreme that seemed at the time.
I know. And that was a big deal. There was a reaction, the 2 Girls, 1 Cup reaction videos.
Yes, you watch people watching it.
Yeah. But now you see 10 times worse than that on a daily basis. If you have my algorithm, my algorithm's a mess. I don't know how to clean it.
Do you think it's part of your brain, because it's what is it, rubbernecking? Is it kind of the same thing in the brain where you see it accidents, you're trying to study it?
There's also you can't believe you're really seeing it. The hit and run that I saw yesterday, I was like, whoa.
That's wild you saw that in person.
Dude, I saw it as far from here as the door to this studio is. It was 2 car lengths away.
They say that when Fast and Furious movies come out, car accidents go up.
Oh, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, the type of people that are pumped that are Fast and Furious movies out, they shouldn't be allowed to drive.
Yeah. But there's always so much more drag racing when that happens. But I feel
Street takeovers.
I do feel that's probably are always happened. But also it's people, in Rome, people used to go to the Coliseum to see people get torn apart. We used to go to the town square and watch people get hanged for entertainment. This is in us.
And also there's something that we're aware that we're very, very vulnerable. So if we can watch something happen to someone that exposes that vulnerability, we want to see it. We want to see the explosion. We want to see, someone drop a fucking grenade off a drone into some dudes that are in a pit. We want to see it.
I want to know, it's your brain's way of rehearsing in case it happens. Someone recently was, I was talking to someone about dreams and nightmares, and they were nightmares is your body's way of preparing for a scenario. Do you have more nightmares after watching these?
Not really.
Oh.
Man, wow. Well, firstly, not to make light of any situation, I did not know 2 Girls, 1 Cup was fake. I had no idea. That changed part of my childhood. That is wild, absolutely wild. Don't look that video up if you're hearing it for the first time. Don't look it up. But there is a lot of desensitization going on. Like I said, I was going to show you that clip of the actual case, news clipping, where they talk about this further. And Whitney's right. There is a part of us that would, ancestry, would go to the Coliseum, would watch the people fight and lions and this and that. That's 100% true, but it's a little different now. Yes, there may have always been people like that, but at no point in time was there so much imagery thrown at any person in your bloodline. Any person in your bloodline, unless you are some Mongolian that is direct descendants of Genghis Khan, you have not had that type of imagery just completely pushed on you. The people who went to the Coliseum, they would see that every once in a while, and they would be far away and it would be like, whoa, what's going on? But for us, you can see Coliseum type of stuff all day, every single day. And it messes with you. It messes with your response to violence, and it messes with your empathy towards other people. You start to not really care about what someone else is going through because you see it all the time. You know what I mean? It's like you fall and bump your knee. When your kid falls and bumps their knee, you're kind of just like, nah, come on. You're not shocked. You're not like, oh my God. You're kind of just like, get up. Come on. I know what this pain's like. Don't worry about it. It's very interesting, but let me show you this clip here, because just a little deeper into these kids. It was wild what they thought was okay, what they thought was going to happen to them. And I'm glad that they're not getting the slap on the wrist. They're not getting the whole, these are just young urban men who just need a helping hand. I'm so glad that's not happening.
And Brian, I've learned Jesus Ayala, the accused driver, appeared to show no remorse when he was taken into custody, even referring to the hit and run and telling an officer he'll get a slap on the wrist since he's in the juvenile system. As we've reported, he has a lengthy criminal history there, but he's not in the juvenile system anymore.
Jesus Ayala appearing in adult court for the first time Thursday, facing 18 charges, including murder.
The court does find probable cause for your arrest in this case.
His co-defendant, Jameer Keys, facing 3 charges, also including murder. The teens are accused of killing retired police chief Andy Probst, intentionally hitting him as he rode his bicycle in a designated bike lane. Ayala, the accused driver. Keys, the accused passenger who recorded this video. Metro police say this was the third hit and run during their crime spree on August 14th. They're accused of hitting another cyclist earlier that morning, a 72-year-old man who survived. The 8 News Now investigators confirming all 3 hit and runs are on video. Police say the teens also stole 4 cars that day. Ayala, 17 at the time, now 18. Keys, 16 years old.
Do you believe these teens should remain in custody, and what do you think is an appropriate bail amount for each of them?
Determination of whether somebody should remain in custody is based upon whether they're a flight risk or danger to the community. Okay? I believe they're potentially both. They have certainly proved that they are dangerous.
Clark County District Attorney Steve Wolfson also explaining how his office will work to prosecute both teens for murder.
Well, under law in Nevada and most any other place, if you aid and abet, encourage, facilitate, or help in any way another person to commit a crime, you're equally guilty.
We've been digging for more details and just learned more about the video investigators say they found on Ayala's cell phone. A similar scene showing the teens laughing as the engine accelerated to hit the first cyclist who survived. We've learned one of them is heard saying, "bump him" a few times. The teens are expected back in court on Tuesday.
Yep. I've watched the full video. I mean, you could look it up. It's not something I can show on YouTube. I'm sure there's, X and all, you can find it. But it's wild. It's wild. The fact that these kids would be willing to do that they would be willing to do that to someone who has a wife, has kids, like just no empathy, nothing. And I really do think it's because, and same vein as Joe Rogan, I don't think there shouldn't be violent video games and there shouldn't be violent movies. But I think it's more than that. Because kids nowadays, especially people that young, they're not particularly watching movies, right? All that much, And the movies that they do watch are completely soaked in, woke ideology nowadays. It's ridiculous. Except for exception of like John Wick. But I think it's more the social media. I think it's the fact that you can literally go to a page that just specializes in showing you violent stuff. And it's beyond fights. It's wild, the things you can see online. Man, it's really wild how we can get so desensitized. And I see it in myself. And I've resensitized myself a lot. And I'm sure you've seen it in yourself. Think about what you were okay with years ago. If you're someone who goes onto Instagram frequently, think about what you're okay seeing now. Like Whitney said, that whole with the school shooting stuff, like you could see one of those and be like, man, again? Who did it? Whew, wow. Anyways, and just move on with your day. It doesn't affect you dramatically. Not like it should. We don't have that same type of empathy, sonder towards these situations anymore. Kind of just move on, It's really, really crazy. And the worst of it is kids like this. These kids just decide like, hey, let's think about the mentality, how desensitized you have to be. I want to make a video for TikTok, wherever, and I think we should go and steal some cars and go and hit some people with the car that we stole. I don't know, man. I don't know. Obviously, these kids are the worst of the worst. Obviously, they have some psychopathic tendencies, some murderous tendencies, but I think I won't say we're all not that far off, but it makes sense. It makes sense. Because like Joe Rogan, I have friends who will send me the worst of the worst stuff. Like just in crazy stuff. And I tend to do the same. If I stumble onto something, I'm like, oh, okay, this is something this guy will like for sure. But we're not sitting around grieving these people. We're not sitting around, checking if they're okay. Like nothing like that. But when I hear a situation like this, I'm not desensitized that much. Because I can think, my wife is my best friend. That's why when sometimes you see me do these episodes, I'm so happy because she is my best friend. And if I was taken away like that, to think about what she would have to go through. If I had a daughter who was a teenager and 20 years old, whatever, and I got taken away, and you think about that family. I've had friends that have passed away, and I know how much someone passing can affect the family. It lasts forever. It's nuts, man, just to think about. So desensitization, that's a real thing. It's a real thing that's happening every single day, more and more. And you know what the biggest thing is? If you're still listening to this point, I should have brought this up at the beginning. I would say the biggest that I've seen of this is the calls for war. The people who are calling for war in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, who are saying, no, they need to be able to fight. And people actually looking at someone like Donald Trump when he was like, I want people to stop dying. They're like, oh, he won't pick a side? The fact that he won't pick a side, they don't like that. The fact that you have to pick a side, you want Ukraine to win, which means indirectly you're saying that you want many, many, many Russians to die until the point where they're immobilized and they cannot fight anymore. Like, that's what you want. You want that. It's really wild. And we're seeing it now with the Israel-Palestine conflict. There are people, and I say this all the time, whenever I see two of my friends or people I know posting pro-Palestine stuff, posting pro-Israel stuff, posting anti-Israel stuff, posting anti-Palestine stuff, I'm like, hey, man, you're not going there. You're not going to go. Why are you calling for any kind of conflict to continue? You're not going there. You're never going to lock eyes with one of those kids that ends up having something happen to them. You're never going to do that. Why are you doing this? You live you live oceans away. You live better than 99% of the world, and yet you think that you should have the right to call for war, genocide, whatever, what have you, conflict. You're not involved. What are you doing? But people don't see it that way. We see this stuff so much. We hear about this so much that we just kind of go, yeah, those Russians, get them. Do you know what get them means? Do you know what that means? Take a family losing somebody and times it by 100, 200, 500,000, 1 million. Do you have any idea what that means? People say, man, I have friends all the time. They're like, I've said it too. Israel is always told to show restraint. And I'm like, oh, well, after this attack, how can they really show restraint? But it's like, what am I saying? I'm saying that they should be able to carpet bomb a place? And what does that do to those people? There's innocent people there. You can't always just ride the whole thing of, human shields, what do you say? Look, we don't think about what we're saying towards these things. When people say, oh, those Palestinians, they're just freedom fighters, those Hamas guys. You don't know what you're saying. You have no idea what you're saying. We're so desensitized. We just think, yeah, they're freedom fighters. What are you talking about? There were scenes where they were taking fathers away from family. Man, it's wild. It's wild how desensitized we get to this type of stuff. Really, really wild. And none of us know what we're saying. None of us. When you call Lindsey Graham's calling for war, Nikki Haley, they're calling for war. They have no idea what they're saying. They're just thinking of their interests and their stocks and their pocketbooks and everything like that. That's what they're thinking of. They're not thinking about the lives. When we say a lot of things and we hold certain positions, we're not thinking about the lives that are lost on both sides. Because when someone gets shot, they're done. When you have to shoot someone in war, you're done more than likely as well. I know. I have a father who came back and became an alcoholic after he went and served because of the things he had. He was a paratrooper. He had to do all sorts of things, I'm sure. It messes people up. It messes families up, which messes up communities, which messes up your country. You have to think about what you're saying. And let me tell you, I'm the first, like I said, I already admitted it. I don't think about that either. We don't take it into stock just at the snap of a finger. It takes a situation like this as I'm making a video for me to start thinking about it more. But I don't think about it just like anybody else, But I know at the end of the day, I try to keep the position of I want to see peace in these conflicts. I want to see both sides stop. Any conflict. I want to see both sides stop. And, you know, and even then it's hard for, what I'm saying is I want these people who just saw a bunch of their civilians die. I want them to stop. And I want the people who think that they have the right to kill people, I want them to stop too. I'm not fully thinking about it. I just know peace is a good thing. It's wild. It's wild. Absolutely crazy. Anyways, guys, like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because I've been hearing people are getting unsubscribed randomly. That's been the word on the street. Other than that, I am out.